Next up, we're going to have Mark and Karen Imager come up. There are quite a few people who were not able to be here tonight, and so instead of being able to come, they sent emails. So they're going to read a few of those for us.
So, Danny is retiring. I acted in a couple of plays with him in college at Pepperdine. I recall he played the evil Dirk in Love Rides the Rails and the Weasley Mordred in Camelot. Do you detect the beginning of a pattern? Later, we were roommates in Heidelberg, Germany, where he received some expert instruction in ballroom dancing. You'll have to ask Dan about the illicit photo. Lois and I wish Danny the best. This is from Bruce Bradbury. He's the superintendent of Troy School District in Idaho. And he's also the weekend edition host of Northwest Public Radio. And he says, keep the radio on.
This one is from Chad Krober. Chad was Fortune Hunters 94 to 97, Chamber Singers 94 to 97. He was the baker in Into the Woods in 95 and Model in Fiddler on the Roof in 97. Boy, I wish I could be there. Mr. Jackson, or as many of us called him in my days, Mr. J, had this way of endearing himself to his students in a way that I could never understand while I sang for him in my years at Wenatchee High School. But now as I reflect back, I can pinpoint what it was. Mr. J had the ability to take a bunch of ragtag, punky attitude kids, and we'd do anything we could do for the man to make good on his word that his choir was the best there was in the whole Northwest. I remember many times hearing from the mouths of adults, I cannot believe I just heard a high school choir. Mr. J had the gift to identify that small part of each of us that so desperately wanted to be bigger than ourselves, and he found a way for each of us to sacrifice our own egos and talents so that the entire group could benefit as a whole. Music is the one thing in the world where if the entire team does not get it right, the final result suffers. No athletic team competition can claim that. Mr. J was also able to challenge, push, prod, and coach us individually to become better than we ever thought we could be, and for some of us, he was the first one to believe that we could do it. Mr. J, your legacy is larger than you will ever know, and the portals of heaven someday will ring with many trained voices that will say, Mr. J taught me how to sing, how to live, how to believe in myself, and the gifts that God has given me. Thank you.
Mr. Jackson was a father figure to me during high school. He encouraged and motivated me to do my best and follow my dream. And my dream was to become a music teacher. Because of you, Mr. Jackson, I have had so many amazing music experiences that you provided at WHS, and experiences you encouraged, like going to PLU and singing with Richard Nance and Dick Sparks. You taught me that excellence is achieved by hard work, desire, and perseverance. Your legacy is not just a part of WHS, but a part of me and all those you have touched. Although I am only one of many students you have touched, you are the teacher for me that I always strive to be like. Thanks so much for all that you did for me. Matt Smeller, Puyallup, Washington, WHS 97, and Matt is here tonight.
This one is from Paul Hardy. Remember, I'm only the messenger. Paul Hardy here with a little something for Dan's little something. I will never forget how Mr. Jackson did not put me in the Fortune Hunters. Twice. I never have, nor will I ever forgive him for it. And like to think that instead of retiring, he's being fired. 5 years after the fact for his poor judgment. Oh, and here's another thing. I don't think of Mr. Jackson as a teacher, choral director, but as a friend, an uncle of sorts. That is because he never made me feel like simply a student, rather a friend, and always welcomed me into his life, and not to hang around that I actually am sure I qualify as. The crazy thing is that I know I am not alone. In fact, I would wager that the number of former students, and this extends beyond only choir members, who see Dan as not merely a surprisingly good-looking teacher choir director, but some sort of transcendent Uncle Godhead, is nearly as long as the list of students who never had the fortune of crossing his path. His gifts and impact are not being hyperbolized by all of this retirement fanfare, and I sincerely hope he understands that. It is really too bad he had to get fired.
Dan Jackson. Rebecca Lane and her family will be unable to attend the going away party for Dan Jackson, as Rebecca has a lead part in the spring musical at the University of Washington, and it's opening tonight. Thank you from Tammy Lane.
This one is from Matthew Bird. Although I remember a boatload of stories and funny moments around Mr. J, probably my favorite story of all time took place during a Vanderbilt feast. Whether my sophomore or senior year, I don't remember. As we all know, the king and queen give out pleasures to the court as they are petitioned, and someone asked Mr. Jackson to sing a song to his niece, I believe. On the spot, the director of the whole deal went down on one knee for his niece and sang a quick song. I don't remember much of the song. It was something like, "Younger than springtime were you." Anyway, I was very impressed by that action, and Mr. Jackson has always had my loyalty and respect since then. That and the time our tour bus bottomed out, turning up a steep hill and we couldn't get out forever. Ha! That hurt.
And lastly, we'll read this one in a couple of parts here. I have fond memories of Mr. J. My sophomore year was his first year at WHS. Our bel canto picture in 1980 had little Abel in a tux in the center. When Mr. J signed my annual in 1980, he signed it 6/6/80. His daughter Annie was born that day. Mr. J cast me as Goldie in Fiddler in 1981, opposite Josh Horner as Tevye, and it was the beginning of Dave Williams's drama and music career as the rabbi's son. That experience was absolutely one of the highlights of my life.
I wish I could be there on May 29th. I will be at a conference leading worship that evening. How appropriate. Mr. J deepened my appreciation for music, and I have been able to use it in life for God's glory.
2 of my sons had Sally Jackson as their second grade teacher, and we were so blessed to have her. The Jacksons have left a wonderful legacy in the lives of so many students, their families, and the community. From Heidi Yeager Lammer.
That's all the emails we have, but I guess in closing, Dan, I would just say thank you for giving our children